Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another PlateUp food guide tutorial. Is that how you say it? Food automation tutorial. In any case, welcome back. This would be the third episode in my pie series. The first episode showed how you would do meat and mushroom pie automation because it's basically the same. You swap out the meat for the mushroom, and you can also set a dual setup like I did show you. The second video I showed you vegetable pie, and then I had a bonus at the end of that showed having meat as well as mushroom, having all three of them hooked up together, which is quite a bit of extreme automation, but feel free to check out those videos if you want to see how you automate that stuff. Now, the title of today's video is How to Automate Apple Pies. And apple pies, what makes them special is that you have to actually par bake the crust before you put your chopped apples, and then you have to bake it again or cook it again. Now, the setup I have here is the most basic, less resource intensive one. Again, if you do not have conveyor mixers, all you need to do is swap out the conveyor mixers for a regular mixer. Again, I would shy away from using a heated mixer on the dough side because it would eventually burn if it backs up too much. You could use a heated mixer with the apples because the apples do not cook raw like that. So you could do that, and if you are using a non-conveyor mixer, you would just back all these back one space. You'd have a grabber in between this and the one up there where this one here where the apples are, if that's the way you have to go about doing it. Now, in any case, this is a setup. It requires your flour bag. It also requires your apples, 2 regular grabbers. Again, these could be smart or regular, it does not matter for this guide. You have 2 mixers, as I mentioned before. They can be conveyor mixers, they could be rapid mixers, regular mixers, a heated mixer for the apples, but not one for the pie crust. If that is, you have 2 more grabbers in between, or also smart grabbers, does not matter. You have a safety hob. Here you have a smart grabber, which is needed for this part of the demonstration. And then a prep station. Actually, I should say these 2 things are optional, but if you're at this stage, you want to automate them going into a prep station, or even better yet, a frozen prep station. Now, you also need 1 combiner that combines the apples into the crust. Now, the one thing I will say about apple pies is because apple pies are a dessert pie, you have to get through your starter course if you have one. You get through your mains plus sides if you have sides, and then you're on to dessert. So I'm going to show you right now how this setup runs. I'm just going to run it from down here. I'm going to run it real quick so it zooms back in for you guys. Now, the biggest issue with this, and you can see it already, is the fact that it's not fast. It is very slow. I'll just clean these messes as we go. And you can see how slow it is. It par baked the crust. Now it's cooking the apple. And again, the reason why you have a smart grabber here is because if it was a regular grabber, as soon as the par baked crust was ready, this grabber would pull it through. And that's not what you want. So again, it cooks it, puts the apple on. It seems like it takes quite a long time. So my preferred method, which adds a few more resources to it, but nothing out of the ordinary, is you could keep this. If you have this set up and you want to expand on it, you can keep this smart grabber if you like, but just for argument's sake, we're going to swap out for a regular grabber. We're going to back all of this stuff up. Again, you can configure this however is convenient for you. And now this will go into a safety hob. And I think you guys understand the gist I'm getting here. Because a safety hob, the first one, will par bake the crust. Won't burn it, of course, because it's a safety hob. It'll pull it from the grabber immediately onto here, which we have a waiting apple. So you could kind of time how long it took to make one pie there. Let me just show you how long it takes when you're doing it this method. Now, the first pie obviously is going to take just as long because you still have to par bake 1 crust and then cook 1 crust. But let's just watch this for 2 seconds. I'll get out of the way a bit. Now, the beauty behind this system is you have a pie crust raw ready to go. As soon as the grabber takes the par bake crust, the second crust is making it ready. If you see that crust is going to be actually finished before your first apple pie crust, your apple pie is made. And it will always be quicker. The conveyor belt here, or excuse me, the conveyor mixer, again, regular mixer, rapid mixer, and the safety hob, and even the grabber is still faster to make a crust than it is to, which the mess wouldn't make messes, would be to make a pie. As you see, now this is backed up fully. Now, you could say, well, could you expand on this? And the answer is yes. You could a little bit, depending on how you had your grabber set up. Like, you theoretically could have another combiner back here or even, I guess you could have the mixer here and a grabber pulling into a combiner to combine it onto this hob here, or could combine it onto there. Like, there are other ways to do this that would be make it quicker yet. But as you see here, we've only been talking for what, 20, 30 seconds, and now all of them are made. And of course, as soon as you take one off. And the beauty with apple pies is because it is a dessert, not every table takes a dessert. I'm just gonna get out of this so the music stops, or the sound stops. So the good part about this is everybody doesn't take apple pie, right? Which is actually quite good. Now, because of the way this design is set up, is you could add, I don't have the materials to do that, obviously, but the way you would set this up to add your meat to it is, say you'd pull, you probably would pull it from here. It doesn't really matter where you pull it from. You pull it like this, and then you'd have another safety hob here with another combiner. Let's just mimic that this is the combiner. And then you'd have another grabber here, and you'd have your meat counter here. So your meat would be automatically combining onto here, another grabber here into a prep station. I just don't have the materials to show you guys, but I think you understand the gist of what I was getting at. And that way, you could actually par bake the crust for the apple pies and the meat pies, because any pie, here's a tip, any pie, the mushroom, the meat, the veg pie, you can all par bake the crust, which means you cook the crust one time empty before you add your ingredients. You can do that with all of the different types of pies. Just the only one that's required is using apple pies. That's the only one that's required to par bake the crust. The other ones, it's truly optional, but it would save a lot of time if you have a setup like this with meat pies, and then your whole pie things are automated. And again, this is very modular. You could add on the mushroom pies. If you watched my first video and the second video, you could easily see where you could tie another one of these systems in to have apple pies being automated, kind of piggybacking off of the crust being made or the flour coming in or something like that. You really only need, a few ingredients or a few items here. But this is my preferred setup, which would take 4 grabbers, 2 conveyor mixers or other mixers plus a grabber, your apple bin, your flour bin, 2 safety hobs, one to par bake, this one here to par bake the crust, and then this one here to actually finish it. And then you have a prep station. Frozen prep would be ideal because then you have 4 ready to made in the beginning of the day, and you have one combiner, which is over there. Well, it's over there is your combiner. So it's a pretty simple way to automate it. It's not, the only difference between automating this and automating a meat or a mushroom is nothing, basically, because you still have your apples will be replaced by your meat or your mushroom. I guess the only difference is with those pies, you don't need to have a mixer. You could omit the mixer because the mushrooms and the meat does not need to be chopped, just like the veg doesn't need to be chopped to go into the pie. But nonetheless, this is the setup. Pretty straightforward. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. This will be the final video in the pie series because I covered meat and mushroom part 1. I covered vegetable plus a bonus meat and mushroom triple threat, showing how you can automate all 3 of them together at one time using the items that were in those videos, of course. And then the third one here is your dessert pie, and this is the last one. A lot of people don't like taking apple pie because you have to cook it twice, and it is quite slow. But hey, add another hob, a safety hob, another grabber, and you'll be making pies like no one's business. All right, guys, thank you so much. Stay tuned for another automation tutorial when it comes to food, and I also have some tips and tricks videos out there. If there's anything you'd like me to see that hasn't been covered on my channel up until this point, please leave it in the comments, and I'll see if I can get something ready to go for you guys like that. I do have all my automation videos are all in one playlist. I have my learning the basics are in one playlist, as well as like the food cards, the franchise cards. What do they mean? What does the wording mean? What do they actually do? Do they do this instead of this? Feel free to check out all those videos. I have a bunch of combiner videos, et cetera, et cetera. But I have a lot more coming out after this. So please stay tuned, and thank you guys for the continued support. And I'll catch you all in the next PlateUp automation tutorial video. Take care now.